What is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome here to my 2022 NBA Big Board ranking. So last year I made this video. I also did like a tier list style of it, and basically I'm going through my players in this draft, or the players in this draft that I think are going to have the best careers, that have maybe the highest ceilings that I would take if I was there in this position. So pretty much in the NBA, it's different than like the NFL, right? Like if you're in the NFL and you have a plethora of wide receivers, you're not going to take a wide receiver in the first round. Or if you have your franchise quarterback, you're not going to take one in the first round. You might draft based off need, especially if you need offensive linemen or corners. But in basketball, it's different. Basketball is becoming positionalist, and if you have 2 point guards, you can make it work. If you have 3 point guards, you can make it work. So yeah, I'm pretty much like, I would take these players in order, no matter the team, unless they were like a one-dimensional center and you already have a one-dimensional center, or you have 2 of them, and maybe you can get into that, but you're kind of splitting hairs at that point. So this is who I think in my 10 years from now, you would rank these players. That's pretty much what I'm going to do today. And this is also just my opinion. I'm probably not the biggest draft guru, I would say. Like, I didn't watch every single player's game this year. I did watch a ton, watched a lot of film on YouTube, or what you can find in past ESPN games. Unfortunately, I don't have a Synergy account, which is like the software where you can basically watch every collegiate game and rewatch it, so you can kind of go back and watch film. Like, a lot of like the analysts have them, and like these writers do. And basically what I just think is going to happen. So yeah, just take this with a grain of salt. You might disagree, and if you do, let me know down below. Let's get into it. I'm using fanspo.com. Link to that is in the description. So my number 1 player in this draft, unfortunately with Fanspo, I don't believe it's ranked by stuff, so you got to type it in, is Chet Holmgren. Now Chet Holmgren might have he might be also listed as a power forward, so let me just kind of, actually, let's just do this. Chet Holmgren definitely has a lot of question marks. He's coming in not weighing probably what he should for a 7-foot big man. He's maybe not going to be as quick offensively and as strong going up against these other centers in the league. Like, you go put him up against Bam Adebayo, Joel Embiid. He might struggle. He might. But I still think he has the highest ceiling out of anybody in this draft class. I think he can become a block or a shot blocking machine. He could be a good shooter, a great inside scorer, and he could be somebody that can average one day 20 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, and hit threes consistently. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as like Karl-Anthony Towns offensively, but I think he will be a nice mix of like a Karl-Anthony Towns offensively and like a Bam Adebayo defensively, because he can still move with the ball in his hands, and he's not super one-dimensional in that. So he's my number 1 player in this draft, and I would take him over Jabari Smith, who's my number 2 player, though, if I were the Orlando Magic. Jabari Smith, his thing will be, can he create his own shot in this league? And if he can, is he going to be able to do it, like, and guarding big men on the defensive side? He's a little bit weird. People think he's more of like a wing kind of in his own right, like more of a small forward than like a center, which you could look at that. But I still love the potential there as somebody that could just be an inside presence one day, but also just be a creative scorer on the wing if he can really develop properly. We'll see about the defense as well. And then also, I have Jaden Ivy as my number 3 player in this draft. Yes, that is, I guess, my first shocker. I'm a big guard guy. I usually have, like, I scout guards the most because that's kind of like what I played growing up. So I have a soft spot for guards. Like last year, I pretty much had Suggs kind of high, or at least higher than I did Scotty Barnes, so that was an L on my part. But I had Josh Giddey pretty high, and 2 years ago, I had Tyrese Halliburton really high, but I also had Killian Hayes really high. So I definitely have some hits and misses with them, but I love Jaden Ivy. I think he's going to be perfect for this style of play. I think it's like a lot of these guys also, it depends where they get drafted to. If Jaden Ivy, I think, gets to play next to Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green, I think that's going to be great for him. But if he goes to Sacramento, which it's likely, I don't know, it might be a little bit interesting with their guard rotation and with their, like, if there's a coaching carousel, because that's been happening in Sacramento forever. That could hurt his development. So yeah, I would say that's like my first big shocker in here, because I do have Paolo Banchero as number 4. So this is like my tier 1, I would say, of players in this draft. Like, you could probably interchange Jabari and Chet, but I'm still, like, no, Chet's my number 1 guy. You could probably interchange, like, these 3. Like, you put Paolo over Ivy, I'm fine with that. But Paolo, I think there's obviously the conditioning things. We'll see how his defense translates into the league. But there's a good chance this dude leads the rookie class in scoring next year, 100%. But we've seen rookies lead their classes in scoring all the time and not end up being the best rookie. So, yeah, he is my number 4th player in this draft. My number 5th player in this draft is going to be Keegan Murray out of Iowa. He's also somebody that could lead this rookie class in scoring, and he's going to be able to be, I think, a 3-level scorer in this league, or at least he's going to be, I think, a good mid-range shooter, 3-point shooter. We'll see how he is inside. We'll see if he's going to be able to match up against other 4s. But yeah, if he's getting some bigger guys on him that are slower on the perimeter, he's going to be able to drive right by them. We'll just see how his inside scoring is going to be. And if he goes to a team like Indiana, I think that's going to be really good for his development. So next up is a little bit of a shocker, and that is Dyson Daniels. I think I'm also a sucker for this style of play, to your taller guards that can ball handle. We'll see if he's eventually going to be able to shoot at the NBA level, but he's going to get a lot of comps to Josh Giddey for a lot of unfair reasons and a lot of like lazy reasons. The height, just kind of maybe being an international guy coming in, but I really think he could be like a modern day NBA point guard that's going to be able to pass. He's going to be able to run the floor, play in transition, run the half court properly, rebound, and I just think he's going to be a valuable point guard in this league. Do I think he's going to be the best player in this class? No way. Do I think he has the ceiling of an all-time great point guard? No, but I think he could be a top 15 point guard in the league one day, and if you're getting that with the 6th player in the draft, that's pretty solid. I mean, we've seen some worse classes before. So next up is somebody that I'm also kind of high on as well, and he's right here, and that is AJ Griffin. I think he can if he's able to master what he is, I think he could be a perfect 3-and-D guy. I don't know if he's ever going to be a 25 point per game scorer. He's going to be the next Jason Tatum out of Duke. Probably not. That is not going to happen. But if he can really master the 3-point shot, he's going to be able to play elite defense because the potential is there, the athleticism is there. I think you're going to find your value. Like Marcus Smart found what he was in that 2014 draft class and shown why he was actually deserving of a top 5 pick, because probably one of these players isn't going to pan out. It's just a guarantee. It happens every draft. But if you can really master what you are, you're going to be able to show yourself that you are a top guy in this class. So next up, at number 8, we do have Shaedon Sharpe. Biggest wild card in this draft, and it's crazy he's going to be in here. Somebody that played 0 college, no G League play, no international play. Last was in high school. Apparently he's looked good in the combine, and that's why I just have him a little bit lower. Man, he can come out and be like, okay, he was better than Jaden Ivy in this class. I'm just a little bit more conservative with players like him to rank them that high. All right, next up, we have Jeremy Shouhan out of Baylor, and I think he's someone similar to like AJ Griffin, that if he can kind of master what he is, somebody that's not going to be a 2010 machine in this league and be the next Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett. But I'm not saying like be Draymond Green, but if he's somebody that is just that hustle guy, that Dorian Finney-Smith, that Royce O'Neal type guy that's going to play defense, maybe he develops a jump shot in this league. He's a great rebounder, and he's a physical guy. You're going to be in this league for 10 plus seasons, and that's why I like Jeremy Shouhan's play a lot. Next up, we have Benedict Matherin of Arizona. He's somebody that is also, I think, a little bit of a wild card because he's a sophomore coming out, so we've seen a bunch of him. I think it really just depends on his scoring at the next level. Will he be maybe a 3-level scorer in this league? Will he go to a team like New Orleans where he's maybe at the bottom of the rotation and we don't really get to see much out of him? Like, I'm a little bit scared if a wing gets drafted by New Orleans here and we really can't see a ton out of them. But yeah, I think Matherin is still going to be a great scorer in this league, and he's a top 10 player in this class for me. And then speaking of, I guess, wild cards here, we are going to have, I typed in Jokic, Nikola Jovich, man. International play is so tough. And, like, I'm watching this stuff, like, on YouTube, basically, is where I'm getting these highlights from. And it's really tough to see how they're going to play at the next level. I mean, you look back and, like, we all watched Luka's European highlights, and we're like, holy crap, this guy's doing this against grown men that have kids maybe the age of Luka Doncic. I think Nikola Jovic has seen some crazy good talent, and he's probably more NBA ready than somebody like Shaedon Sharpe. But Shaedon Sharpe might go 10 plus spots higher, but I think Jovic will be a good player in this league. Maybe he's got to stay healthy, he's got to maybe grow into his body, he's going to be able to go up against this NBA talent, but I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to be a top 15 guy in this league. Next up at 12, we have another guy like Jeremy Shouhan, who I think really can be a top 15 guy in this class if he knows his role, and that's Tari Eason out of LSU. Somebody that's going to be a physical guy, can play next to power forwards, maybe like a Karl Anthony Towns, maybe like a Nikola Vucevic, that aren't great defensively at the 5, but you can really see how much they're making this team better defensively. I think really that's Shouhan's and Eason's calling card, being able to switch between 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s defensively and being able to guard almost all 5 positions on the floor. Eason might be a little bit better at that than Shouhan, but I think, yeah, like role-based, he could be a top 15 guy in this class. So next up, we have Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin, and he's kind of somebody like Matherin, where you're really relying on their offensive potential here, and Davis, I think, is a little bit of a risky pick too. We'll see where he gets drafted to, and we'll see if his style of play fits the system he goes into. But the scoring potential is there alone to make him a top 15 guy in this class. Number 14 here, we are going to have Jalen Duran. You might be like, Matt, that is really low. I know, it is really low for a center, but you can see, like, I mean, I guess we're going to classify these guys at the top as centers as well. But I'm not a huge fan of maybe these, okay, so the top 10 guys in these class are maybe borderline all-stars, but really big impact players. Like, if Jeremy Shouhan's ceiling is what Dorian Finney-Smith is right now, that's a major impact player in a playoff team. We'll see. Will Jalen Duran be able to develop into, like, a Clint Capella type? He's definitely more athletic coming out of college than Clint Capella. But I think his style of play, I think, will determine if he's on a playoff team eventually in his early days, and how well will he be able to adjust in the playoffs for his style of play. All right, next up, we are going to have Ochai Agbaji out of Kansas, somebody that I really want to see go to a team like Cleveland, maybe like Charlotte, like Chicago, and like be an immediate playoff impact guy right away. That's what I wanted to see Corey Kispert last year. Unfortunately, the Wizards weren't in the playoffs. That's what I kind of wanted to see at Chris Duarte, but he went a little bit higher into a Pacers team that make the playoffs, because I think he's going to be an immediate impact right away. And you're like, all right, this guy's a top 5 guy in this class. But then as maybe these guys fill out more and take a little bit more time to develop, you're like, all right, maybe he was around like that 10 to 15 level right there. Next up, we have a center that's similar to Jalen Duran, and some people do think he might go ahead of Jalen Duran on draft night, and that is Mark Williams. And with kind of the center not being the deepest position in this class, he might go a little bit higher, but I think he's going to project to being a very solid rim protector in this league for years to come. So next up, we also have Blake Wesley, who's kind of high. I'm very high on Blake Wesley as a scorer in this league. He's a freshman, and I would love to see him go to a team that has a good player development staff, maybe like Denver. Milwaukee maybe doesn't have the greatest player development staff as of late, at least track record wise. But like still a good one, I would say. I said Denver, Miami, Memphis. That's where I would like to see Blake Wesley end up. But I would also like to see him play a decent amount his rookie year. And maybe we really wouldn't get to see that in Memphis. All right, next up we have Tai T Washington. I think the second best pure point guard in this class. Well, I guess third best behind Ivy and then Dyson Daniels, yeah. And then we got Tai T Washington, who I think can be a very solid. I don't know if he'll ever be a top 10 point guard in this league, but I think a perfect backup right away. He could be an immediate impact and pretty much stay in the league for 10 plus years as a backup point guard. Another wild card here that I think could have a very interesting career, and that's Ousmane Dieng. I think like people project him to be a solid defender one day in this league, and if he can be kind of versatile on both ends of the floor, he'll be here for a while. But these international players, they're like honestly collegiate players. They're boom or bust guys. Like, we'll see if he's gonna be able to develop to the NBA style of play. He might need a couple of years to get acclimated, and maybe that's a team like the Thunder who's giving Poku some time to run. Like, that would be the best position for him. But we'll see if a team that gets drafted to, or yeah, if team he gets drafted to has that patience for him, you know? So we'll see about that down the line. Next up, we do have Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. Similar to some of these other guys here, maybe like a Benedict Matherin, maybe like an Ochai Agbaji, but not as much. But like, yeah, I'm excited to see what Branham's scoring could be at the next level. And I think it also depends on maybe the guys around him, similar to like where he was at Ohio State, can develop or to see if he can really reach his true potential as a scorer at the next level. All right, next up, we have Christian Brown out of Kansas. I mean, you guys are all familiar with him. He played very well in the NCAA tournament, and I think he's an immediate impact right away at the next level. And he's just like, his high basketball IQ, I think, will keep him around for a little bit. Next up, we have Jaden Hardy, who is a probably consensus top 5 pick going into the season, and boy, he played bad at the G League Ignite, but I think even putting him in 22 might be a little bit criminal to him, and I think he's still going to be a solid player in this league. I just hope, I don't know, his confidence is there and he doesn't get in his own head, and teams don't give up on him too quickly. Another player that I think could make a long career because of the position or style of play will be EJ Lidell. Similar to maybe like a Jeremy Shouhan, maybe not as athletic as like a tori eason, maybe in my eyes, but I think he's going to be somebody that can be strong enough and physical enough to play maybe taller than what he is. He's 6'7", maybe doesn't seem that tall, but he can really play upper or kind of, I guess, more physical than what he might come out to be. So if I'm looking away, I'm going to just look at my big board. So next up, we have Marjan Bhullar out of the G League Ignite. The size is there. The frame is there. He's actually a little bit older coming out of the, I believe he's 21 coming out of the G League Ignite. And he's a guy that I would like to see on a team that's picking like maybe like the Brooklyn Nets, maybe like the Atlanta Hawks or somebody like that. That's where I would like to see Marjan Bhullar go in this draft, because he is kind of the 24th guy. Here's a risky guy that might not work out. I just felt I needed to put him in my top 30 because that's how deep I'm going to go. And that's Patrick Baldwin. Would I take him in the first round? Probably not. Probably slot him in the early second. But I think the potential is there. And if he flames out and he was a complete bust and showed what he was in Milwaukee this year and wasn't that good, it's fine. My 25th player in the league didn't work out, but he was a consensus lottery pick going into this year. He just didn't play well at Milwaukee, but I still think there's a chance he could be a good NBA player. All right, we have Bryce McGowan's up next out of Nebraska, coming in as a freshman there. Similar to, I think, he could even be a better, Blake Wesley type. So this could be a little bit low of a ranking, and I think he should 100% go in the first round. Another player that I would probably take a chance in the first round is Kendall Brown out of Baylor. Wasn't really the most flashiest guy there this year, and he was somebody I think people thought was going to be a lottery pick going into this collegiate season. So I feel like I have to put him in the top 30 because the potential is still there for this guy to be a great defender, and even an offensive player at the next level. At pick 28 here, we have Kennedy Chandler, who I don't know if I'll ever see him being a starting point guard. I'll watch him be one, and I'm going to laugh at this comment, but I think he could be a good rotational point guard for years to come. His floor is a lot higher than Patrick Baldwin's or Jaden Hardy's. I just think the ceiling's a little bit lower. All right, we have Wendell Moore out of Duke up next with my second to last player that I will be ranking. Just a smart player, kind of like a Christian Brown type. I think a team would really value his NBA IQ and could be a solid player immediately. And lastly, we have Walker Kessler out of Auburn, a physical center that I think could be in this league for multiple years as a backup center because he's tall, he's physical inside, can grab boards, run the pick and roll. I think that's pretty good for my 30th player. So a few players that just missed out were Dalen Terry of Arizona, Christian Koloko of Arizona, Jake Laravia out of Wake Forest, Trevor Keels out of Duke, and Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. But yeah, this is pretty much my 1 through 30 big board. This is how I think they will rank out. So yeah, tell me how I was wrong down below or what you disagree with. This is if I had 30 picks in this draft and I was the GM of every 30 team, I would probably go in this order. Yeah, I probably would. And that's how it'd be because you pretty much just draft who you think's the best player. Don't really go by position in this league. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Drop a like if you guys did enjoy. Let me know maybe your top 10 big board or your top 5 down below, or if any of these players you think I should have ranked higher or lower. Like always, I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.